In light of recent events in Denmark, we begin with the sudden tragic death of our King Hamlet. We decided to speak with someone who was there all along. She watched the king brutally murdered and the queen rapidly remarried, and watched his best friend go slipping into madness, Prince Hamlet. So I present Horatio, faithful friend to our late and beloved royal family.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Let's get right into it. Alright.
Yeah.
What was your first reaction to seeing the ghost? What did you know was the past king of your friend Horatio, like his dad and stuff?
Hamlet's dad.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I reacted as anybody would, seeing a ghost. And, I mean, obviously it caught us off guard because we were already all shaken up from everything that was already happening with the king's death. Which, it was so sudden. Nobody saw it coming. He wasn't that old. And it just caught us off guard, and it was already really just, it was an eerie night, and that just made it worse. Everybody was shaken up. It was, it caught us off guard. And as to your question about whether we knew if it was the king, it was pretty evident just based on, I mean, it looked exactly like him. And we couldn't, I mean, it was so realistic looking that I actually questioned whether it was a ghost or an actual person. And he even appeared in the same armor that he used to wear during his life, so it was pretty clear that it was him.
So at the time, did you know how King Hamlet died? Or what was going on there?
No, we just thought, I mean, he was kind of up there in years. And we just kind of thought it was just natural causes, old age, that type of thing. We obviously never would think that his own brother would poison him through the ear.
Yeah. It's kind of messed up.
A little bit.
Like, why the ear?
Exactly.
So, Horatio, I understand that you and Hamlet were pretty good friends. How did you feel when he started going crazy? Like, did you agree with his plan and, like, for his lust for revenge for his father?
It is Horatio.
Whatever.
That is my name.
Let's answer the question.
I don't know. Like, even though I knew he was supposed to be faking it, it began to get kind of out of hand, and he kind of became high maintenance. And, I mean, I agreed with him that he should try to get revenge, and I would feel the same way if I were in his place. But it was just kind of getting excessive. Like, he was starting to do things that weren't necessary to his plot. And, so I also entirely understood, like, that he would want to avenge the murder, as anybody would.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a little out of hand toward the end.
Yeah.
Although I agreed with it.
Alright, next question. How did you feel about Gertrude marrying Claudius, like, just like a few months after the death of the former king?
It was actually only a month.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, this is a month. And also keep in mind that it's her brother. I mean, her brother-in-law.
Gotcha.
Not her brother. So, I mean, I and everyone else in the kingdom, we obviously thought it was absurd, and I don't know how she thought that she would get away with it, or how it would go over with the public. And it was a bad idea from the start. And as I mentioned earlier, although I knew that Hamlet's madness was a ruse, I felt kind of alone in the situation. and then along with other things going on.
Did you think that this contributed to Hamlet going mad? Like, maybe it made his actions a little bit more rash?
I did. I started to think that his madness actually was literally going to his head. Actually. And, I mean, I give him props for not losing it fully, but, like, considering the things that happened to him. But he did start to lose it a little bit.
Alright. Now, Ophelia is Polonius' daughter and Laertes' sister.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me everything about Hamlet's and Ophelia's relationship. Did you feel that Hamlet loved her, and how did he react to her death?
Well, before everything started happening, before the king died, like so abruptly, they were going well together and everything was going well. And it wasn't until the king died and the ghost appeared, and then Hamlet started changing. Once Hamlet started feigning the madness was when it kind of started to get a little rocky between them. Because of course she didn't know that he wasn't actually mad. And so that contributed a lot to how it eventually ended.
How did Ophelia die again? Like,
Well,
what was the, controversy?
What happened was Hamlet thought, at one point, that Claudius was coming into the room when it was really Polonius.
Mm-hmm.
And so he accidentally killed Polonius instead of Claudius. So Polonius is dead. So his death really affected Ophelia. And so then she actually went mad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think at some point, I'm not quite sure because I wasn't really there for that, but I think at some point she was near a pond or a river or something. I think it was a pond if I heard correctly. And she ended up falling in as she was collecting flowers, or I mean, most people think it was probably suicide, but it's not entirely proven.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard she was stripping and stuff in front of everyone.
I was there, but yeah, it was.
It's messed up.
Yes, I feel for her though.
It's messed up.
It was.
All right. That kind of brings us to our last question. When the fencing match between Hamlet and Laertes was announced, did you get a weird vibe, like there was an ulterior motive to the match?
I did, because even though it's just a fencing match and they're generally safe, I did kind of sense some danger could come from it because, one, it was suggested by Claudius, and he was already suspected of murdering his brother,
And the day before, Laertes was going mad on Hamlet.
Yeah. So there was the Laertes in there as well because of the death of Ophelia and Polonius. So I was kind of wary of what could happen. And, so I did kind of sense. But I guess I should have followed my instincts more and kind of prevented Hamlet from taking part in it.
Then when all the killing started to happen, Laertes slashed Hamlet, but didn't kill him right away because of the poison.
Right.
And then Gertrude drank the poison cup. Hamlet sliced Claudius and made him drink boy's got some issues. And then he killed Laertes, or somewhere in that order. When all of it started to happen, how did you feel? Did you feel that the Hamlet that you knew was like gone, like he actually did slip into madness and all he was fixated on was revenge and killing?
Well, at this point, it had gotten kind of. He was pretty involved in his scheme at this point. And I don't know that he was fully mad, because he did react normally to, like, Gertrude's death, as any son would to his mother's death. And he was heavily fixated on revenge toward Claudius, so I can understand where he was coming from when he first cut him with the poisoned sword, and then also made him drink poison. But, still, at this point, even if he wasn't entirely gone in the head, he was just so fixated on the situation that I did kind of feel like I didn't really know him anymore.
And last question is, how did you feel about Hamlet's dying wish? What was that all about?
Well, I was obviously honored when he asked me to tell his story. And it was really hard as he was dying, because even though for the last several weeks I felt like kind of like I was losing him, I mean, that made it even harder to actually see him die, because he was my best friend. And so I was honored that he told me that he wanted me to do that for him, and I will, and I hope I can do it to satisfaction. And I know that he would do the same for me.
All right. Well, thank you, Horatio, for telling us this tragic tale. And we have heard a magnificent story about Hamlet and his quest for revenge against the man who killed his father with poison in the ear. Kind of weird. And he had to go through many unfortunate deaths to finally feel like he atoned for his father's death, and even killed his mother, and he lost his one true love, Ophelia. Well, thank you, Horatio, and good luck to you.
Thanks for having me.